All right, next item, please.
Next item, athletics, Dr. Glenn Maliko.
So we have Mr. Mashur, Mr. Silver.
Good evening again, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so we're just going to have a short athletic presentation. Obviously, we can go on and on about athletics. Anyone that knows me knows how much I love athletics and how near and dear it is to my heart. And
I did show him some of the facilities in Texas.
yeah, we could go on for hours about all the great things that athletics has to offer. But we're just gonna keep it brief for everyone and just go through a couple of things. First of all, obviously, all of our athletes are student athletes first and foremost. And the number of participants that we have at each of the high schools and middle schools there for you. I'm not going to bore everyone with all that, but a good percentage of our students at Fortson, Etzel, and Dearborn High School are participating in athletics. And obviously, we're looking to increase those numbers as the years go. Our athletes are always, our student athletes are always role models. They do a tremendous job of reaching out in the community and doing different things, whether it be fundraisers with the Zaman International, the Amity Foundation, or some of the other organizations, or whether it's just going to our schools and reading and talking to kids and trying to inspire our kids from our other students who look up to their, to the football players, basketball players, swimmers, etc. Just a couple of pictures. Again, I could have put pictures up for 20 or 30 slides, but we just wanted to show a little bit of what they do. Going through each high school, Dearborn High, I'm not going to, again, go through all the accolades, but some of the great things that are going on in Dearborn High. I actually just looked at one of my emails, and BCAM honored the Dearborn High School boys basketball team for being one of the, I think they finished 13th in the state in overall team GPA at 3.586. But again, you see what they're doing athletically as far as their records go and so on, and then some of the students who are receiving athletic scholarships to different colleges throughout the state and throughout the country, actually. Etzel Ford had a very, terrific year this year in quite a few of their sports. Girls swimming was terrific, obviously in the classroom at 3.75 GPA. We recognized Will Morano, but we can't recognize him enough for all he's done this year. Just a terrific human being. Forget the fact that he's a state champion wrestler and an excellent football player that got a scholarship to play football actually at Michigan Tech, I believe. Isn't that right? At Michigan Tech. But he's just a classy individual and just a great student and a great leader at Etzel Ford. And that's what a lot of our athletes do. Also won the Van Patrick Award as well. Fortson High School, again, we had a terrific season. A lot of people thought the Fortson High School football team was going to be down this year with regards to, their talent level and so on after losing quite a few guys that signed Division II and Division I scholarships last year. But they were still able to have a wonderful record, had a terrific season, both on and off the field, actually. And they got to the second round of the playoffs. The district champion girls basketball team was recognized earlier by the two students we had here from Fortson. Wrestling team, again, did their thing. It's almost becoming routine for them to win district championships. And you see some of the scholarship recipients at Fortson. Just a little collage of, again, our Fortson district champion girls basketball team. Etzel Ford, the district champion boys basketball team. That's their first district championship in a few years. But the boys basketball team did a terrific job this year and continuing to improve throughout the school year. The Fortson football team and the Dearborn High volleyball team, and the centerpiece is Will Morano, the state champion in wrestling. I'm going to turn it over to Chuck here, and he can tell you a little bit about our conferences and why we got into our new conferences.
Okay, to give you a little background, all three high schools are currently in the Western Wayne Athletic Conference, and why are we changing? Just to let you know, the main reason for this happening is actually because of football. In the current conference, there's actually 12 high schools, and with Fortson having over 2,800 students, and the smallest the high school in the conference is a little over 500 students, is Livonia Clarenceville. Football was becoming really a safety concern within the conference. So with those concerns, we were actually looking at different options with other conferences to try to to try to form alliances just for football, just to see if we could possibly play just a football schedule with other conferences. And every avenue that we took just didn't work out. And so we basically ran into different roadblocks with that. And the writing was on the wall that the conference was going to run basically, I think, eventually going to fold. And so we were trying to be proactive with that. And then Belleville High School decided to leave the conference. So that was going to cause even more of a discrepancy with Fortson and Dearborn being so much larger than the other schools within the conference. So basically what happened is the Kensington Lakes Athletic Association had 14 schools, 16 schools is the optimal amount of teams to have, so they invited Dearborn and Fortson to join. And size-wise, that made sense for us. At the same time, the two Taylor schools decided they're going to merge together. Truman and Kennedy, they're going to basically merge together, and there's just going to be one high school in Taylor. And so at that same time, they invited Etzel Ford to join the Downriver Conference. So it all kind of came together. I think Etzel Ford is a good fit for the Downriver Conference. Size-wise, Dearborn and Fortson do kind of fit with the Kensington Lakes Conference. It's going to be a very competitive conference for us. I think Fortson will definitely struggle in a lot of sports, but I think it will be good for particularly the football and wrestling programs. It'll definitely make Dearborn High better for the overall athletic program. So just to kind of give you the background for why we're going into those new conferences.
And speaking of math classes, Chuck went all the way to Calculus 3. And it's very important because he figured it out. The Kensington Lakes had 14 teams. So they needed 2 more teams to make that 16 optimal team. So there you go.
Great math there.
Did you see that? Trustee
I
Lang? It was
am a math
fine.
major, and I still can't answer your questions that you were asking before. So, okay, in middle school sports, to let you know, we did add 7th grade boys and girls basketball this year, and we added 7th grade volleyball. 6th graders can participate in that, and that's kids were excited about it. The middle school principals are very supportive because actually they're the ones there. They're spending a lot more time there, and we appreciate it, and I think it's good for our kids. The high schools are used for a lot of the championships games, and let's see. The one note: 6th graders cannot participate because of the contact for football. Just so you know that. So far, that's our middle school champs so far this year. These things will probably be coming across the school board in the next couple of years. Some of the big money things that we're going to be looking at very soon. Etzel Ford and Fortson definitely need new football scoreboards, and that's probably going to need to happen fairly soon. The Fortson football field needs to have turf replacement soon. The weight rooms at actually all 3 high schools definitely need some upgrades. They're all in some disrepair, and we probably need to throw some money at those. Right now, we have 2 middle schools that have actual tracks. It's Woodworth and Smith. Woodworth right now we can't use this year. We're planning on resurfacing this summer, but so this year we can only use Smith, so we have to use the high school facilities quite a bit more this year. So, and then we need to do some upgrades at the Etzel Ford pool too. We always get a lot of questions. Why can't my son play on why can't my Fortson student play on the hockey team? Okay. With any unified sport, It's basically between Etzel Ford and Dearborn High. The reason why is the MHSA has a cap of 3,500 combined students. So you can't throw Fortson into the mix with that, because that throws the total over 3,500 students. So basically right now, we're actually very close to the 3,500 with Dearborn and Etzel right now. So our current unified sports are hockey, gymnastics, and we just added competitive cheer right now.
Let me just say one quick thing about that. Okay, so the 3,500 number, if we exceed the 3,500 student enrollment number, then we have basically 3 years in order for that number to come down. If that number comes below 3,500, then we start over again with that 3-year cycle and we can continue to have those teams. If that number is over 3,500 for 3 consecutive years, then we can no longer have any unified teams. You would have to have, if hockey is going to continue, or gymnastics or competitive cheer, they would have to be continued at each individual school. So and we'd obviously need to have enough participants in order to allow those sports to continue.
Correct. One program that we definitely have some concerns about is the gymnastics program, and this isn't just within Dearborn. That's the whole area right now, and it's across the state. Within Dearborn right now, our gymnastics program isn't very competitive. We're struggling numbers-wise, and this is something that we're going to have to look at, the future of the program. What should we do with it, and what could we do, what should we do with the future of the program, basically.
Right. One of the things with gymnastics is cost issues. We really don't even have good space for it, first and foremost. And we use Stout now. And for every practice, the girls on the gymnastics team have to put all the floor and all the equipment out there, which takes them quite a bit of time. Then they have to tear it down and store it again. It takes a toll on the floor. It takes a toll, obviously, on the girls, and it takes a toll on the equipment. So, and we don't have a great number of participants either. The number is anywhere between 13 and 15 over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's not. Unfortunately, the amount of money we're spending for the program and the amount of participants we have, it's just not there.
Is that between the 2 schools?
That's between the
Yeah,
2, and prior, when Fortson was even involved, it was between all 3 schools. The numbers were a little bit higher, but they were still under 20. And like I said, a big issue is the gym space at Stout, and then the equipment, the putting it up, taking it down, and so on. We tried to look at maybe housing gymnastics at the Michael Berry Center, with using the gym there, but it just wasn't going to work to keep the floor up there either, because they have physical education classes during the day as well. So that's just one of the things. Like I said, the cost of officials and getting officials to meets and so on, because gymnastics officials are not a dime a dozen like basketball or football or some of the other officials that we have, or volleyball even. They're a lot harder to find, and the expense is greater than it is for most of the other sports as well. So we're trying to do things that make sense, and so everyone knows too. We've added bowling. We added bowling at Dearborn High. We added bowling at Etzel Ford for both the boys and girls. We added competitive cheer.
And
And Fortson. That's right. Thank you. We added competitive cheer. So we're trying to do things that are appeal to more of our students. The things that they're going to participate in. Anyhow, looking ahead, one of the things that we want to really start to implement next year, and we'll talk about more specifics and so on when the time comes, but drug testing for our athletes. It's our job to protect our athletes, to protect our student athletes. And a lot of student athletes throughout the country, and this has been researched for quite a few years now, are getting hooked on painkillers and so on after experiencing an injury. Usually the injuries are injuries to the knees and or neck and that type of thing. And athletes are taking painkillers during that time. So when they take the painkillers during that time, they become addicted to some of the opiates in the painkillers, and it leads to some drug use and so on. So for us, marijuana, the vaping, some of the other things that are going on, obviously you can put different things in vapes, are becoming more of a concern, again, throughout throughout the country and throughout the state of Michigan. So for us, we have to take a serious look at that and say, hey, you know what? If you want to participate in sports, you have to agree to the drug testing. And again, it's to protect our athletes, to get it. It's not to catch them, to kick them off, and so on. It's to if they are using it, to try to get them the help that they need, so that they're not making those poor choices and that type of thing. Like I said, we can go through more the logistics of how that process will work and so on when the time comes. And one of the other things that we're doing, and Chuck's done a terrific job of this, is we're trying to mentor some of our coaches. Some of our coaches are, new to coaching. They're very good with kids. They're very good at building relationships, but they might not be very good at the technical aspects of whatever sport that they are coaching. So one of the things that Chuck started this year was having our high school coaches hold coaching clinics for our middle school coaches and some of our freshman coaches even, and just using the expertise that we have within our district to try to help, our young coaches become better at what they do. So our coaching, another thing that we want to work on is our policies, our practices, and what is our purpose? What is our purpose? Do we want to win games? Of course. Do we want to win championships? Absolutely. However, the first and foremost, most important thing in sports is building character, building good citizens, getting our student athletes to not only be great students and great, as far as the way they conduct themselves, but also to reach out into the community and to be a bigger part in the community. Athletes, like entertainers and a lot of other people, are looked at as role models by a lot of people. So for us, we want our athletes to take part more in roles that are going to benefit some of our younger students and so on. And that's, again, all ties into why another reason why we want to do some of the drug testing and so on, and that type of thing. If you're going to wear a jersey for Dearborn High, Fortson, Bryant, Woodworth, Etzel, Ford, it doesn't make a difference. If you're going to wear a jersey, we want you to be the best of the best in every way possible. So we want to, figure out how to inspire. Coaches have to learn how to motivate and have to become better motivators, and motivating, again, not only on the field but off the field as well. We want them to be able to educate our student athletes. We talk about discipline all the time. Discipline can be looked at as a consequence to something somebody did, or discipline can be looked at as a way to get things done. And we want them to look at discipline more as a way to get things done, about doing things the right way all of the time, not just when it's easy, because some days it's going to be easy and some days it's going to be tough, like Chuck alluded to with our new conference. It's going to present some challenges to some of our programs. There's no question about it. So our student athletes have to be more mentally tough than they had been maybe in the past when they had some easier competition, some easier games, and so on. And then obviously to celebrate the successes, to bring in some of the former athletes like we did this year on more than one occasion, to bring in some of our former athletes who are playing college sports to come back and speak to not only athletes, but speak to students, to come back to Woodworth, their middle school where they went to, and speak to the 8th grade class, for example, about the importance of having discipline, about the importance of doing things the right way academically and on the playing field as well. So we'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, Chuck will answer them. Yes, trustee.
Oh, excuse me. Trustee Petlicoff.
I was going to ask this question because it's on our agenda tonight, but since you brought it up about the middle school tracks. And I knew somebody who lived in the neighborhood right across the street from Woodworth, and she complained mightily when we redid the track many years ago when I was first on the board about the abuse that the track was being taken by people in the neighborhood who were putting bicycles and rollerblades and all kinds of wheels on the track that weren't supposed to be there. We did everything we could, putting in a turnstile and putting up signage, and people just threw everything over the fence, climbed the fence, and continued to damage the track to some degree or another, and the fence as well. I see every Sunday at 3 o'clock, without fail, there's a group of young adult males who are on the Dearborn High AstroTurf. They've jumped the fence every Sunday without fail for the last 10 years. I've seen this group of young men different group, I'm sure, because they haven't aged, but out there using the field where it says no trespassing and there's padlocks on the gates. We continue to invest taxpayer dollars to maintain these properties, and this doesn't include the other facilities that I don't know what may or may not be taking place. I don't know if there's anything else that we can do at this stage of the game to not waste any more money. I don't know whether this is a reasonable expectation of the life of a track that we're going to be spending and voting on today or not, and the resurfacing, and they're going to epoxy it or something on top of it. I don't know if that's going to protect it more. I don't know. But I have had people come to me who have seen these kinds of individuals taking advantage of this property and tell me, I'm not voting on another millage, I'm not voting on another bond, if you're not going to do anything to try to protect the investment. So I'm asking you, are these reasonable expectations, A, of the life expectancy of these facilities, and is there anything else that we could potentially do to help offset the costs over the years?
Well, we've done quite a bit as far as trying to keep people off the field. Some of the people you mentioned at Dearborn High, they actually do have permits to use the football field on Sundays. So not all of them, though. So you're definitely accurate when you say that people are using the field without permission. But at the same time, like if you look at the Fortson football field, and that's used throughout the year for a multitude of phys ed classes, and obviously all
Right,
the
that's why I
sports.
didn't bring that one into the
Yeah,
equation, because
but
I know they
that's-
have a lot of
But
students.
that's fine, though. I mean,
Yeah.
the life of the
Yeah.
field, even, and it wasn't done the way it was supposed to be done either. Now, let's remember that as well. The original, work that was done on the field to, when they put the field in, wasn't done as quality as it should have been, as the way that they did it at, is it Etzel Ford or Dearborn that was done, like, top notch?
Etzel.
Etzel, yeah, I thought so. Okay, so it wasn't done as well as like the one that Etzel Ford was done, for example. But still, those fields have about a 10-year to 12-year life cycle, and that's where we're at right now with Fortson. Despite all the use, the illegal use, if you will, the trespassing, and the use that, from our teams and our students.
And the tracks as well?
The tracks as well,
I've
yeah.
seen go-karts on the Bryant track.
Well, Brian doesn't have a real track, actually.
Well, whatever that
Right.
path is,
Right.
that you can see from
Yeah.
Telegraph,
Yeah, Bryant has
people
no-
running go-karts on
Right,
it.
Bryant has no protection. I mean, we do what we can, like, for example, at Fortson, at one point, people were dragging the soccer goals across, to use the soccer goals, which they're not supposed to do, so we changed the soccer goals together to kind of eliminate that from happening, and so we do whatever we can. I know Don Ball, Dr. Ball has, putting in cameras and
Yes,
so
and
on.
I see him lurking in the back, ready to.
Yeah, he loves when we talk about football field replacement. So, but no, I know Dr. Ball is looking at more security measures and so on to take so that we can limit it as much as we can. At the end of the day, you can only limit it so much. I mean,
I
so-
understand that, but
right.
I have to be
No, absolutely.
responsive to people who are seeing this happening and
Absolutely.
feel that we haven't done enough to address it and don't want to continue to have their money being spent on it, something that
course.
they think is in their mind being mismanaged.
The athletic directors are constantly complaining to Don, and he's actually done some security measures. They've actually installed quite a few more cameras, at least at the high schools. I don't know what's happened at the middle schools.
And we're looking at yeah, sure, Don. We're
Yeah.
looking at expansion there, and I know from the city relations, but I actually just met with Chief Haddad today. We had a great meeting on safety and security, and I was out at the Dearborn Heights Chief Gavin. Dr. Ball and I were there a couple weeks ago, and one of the things we're looking to integrate as we look at safety, and we're going to need to look at it in this infrastructure committee, is syncing up our camera systems with the Dearborn Police and with the Heights. So with this technology, it's going to be something we're going to seriously want to consider with this committee. That, and I know some of the trustees have pointed these things out to us as well. I think you had sent something I've had from Dr. Mead. And so we're definitely looking at this, and I talked to Dr. Ball today, and we're hoping to at least get a pilot school going soon where the technology is there with Apple and other things to link these things together. And when we had some of the vandalism a few years ago, we took to the cameras. We also get the other pressure where, Mr. Mustang gets calls all the time, and people feel like they can just use the facilities for free, and that's where this is where this comes in, the cost, so
Right.
it's a balance. But I'm gonna tell you, we get pressure on both ends, because people feel like, well, these are just our facilities to use, and what we say is we have the city agreement with the city, but there is a cost and there's a wear and tear, as you're seeing with the replacement. So it is a balance, and I know, Abe, you and the team had looked at, trying to limit the use of the field just because of the costs going in. So I think we are moving forward, but we're gonna need some time to work on some of these different areas.
The lifespan, Fortson will probably be the first field that we're gonna have to redo the carpet on. And that's scheduled for school year 18-19. So we'll be doing it in the summer of 19. The issue that we're dealing with is, of course, we have people jumping over the fences. We put camera systems in on all the high school football fields that are standalone for the infrastructure. So we're watching the fields. We're at that point where it's time to start changing out fields. So we'll do Fortson 18-19. Dearborn High, I want to say 2021, and Etzel 2022. We do routine maintenance on the football fields every year. That week in July, when they're not playing football, where we go in and we fix all the tears in the fields, we put down new crumb rubber, we test them, and then they can use them again.
Yes. Trustee Hamud?
Thank you for your presentation. And excuse my ignorance on this, but just going back to one of the slides, slide 12, and just if you can just explain this to me, when it says MHSAA rules, and it says DHS and Etzel Ford High School students only, FHS must be excluded due to enrollment numbers.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Student enrollment cannot exceed 3,500 if you're going to have any unified teams. So if you
So
add
why-
Fortson into the mix, then you exceed 3,500. So the only way Fortson can have a hockey or gymnastics program is if they can sustain one on their own within their school. And we don't have nearly the amount of interest. Now, just so you know, we had one student last year who said he wanted to play hockey. And because he wanted to play hockey, he wanted us to open that up as a hardship to him. So we offered him to go to Etzel Ford. We made that available to him. So if he wanted to play hockey, he'd be an Etzel Ford student and play hockey. But
So,
he can't play at Fortson.
so DHS and Etzel Ford, they're a combined team?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you add the enrollments of the two schools, they were just under 3,500 students.
Barely.
Barely. Yeah.
Next year, they won't be.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
But
it
we have
just-
3 years, so we'll see
So
how it
once
goes.
they go over 3,500 students, then we get put on a timer, and basically they tell us we have 3 years, and then they'll dissolve the unified team. But if we dip below, which we believe that we'll project to dip below, then we'll be able to continue the unified team.
I guess my only thing is just, it sticks out to me in terms of equity.
Yeah, of course.
Why was it ever considered to where, okay, well, we think we can at least reserve 4 spots, 5 spots for somebody from Fortson
We
to
can't.
join?
We can't. Fortson, if you go to Fortson, you cannot play on the unified team.
They have to
They'd have
add
to
in
You
the
have to.
whole population then.
So as far as equity goes, it's like I said, if a student plays hockey and he wants to play hockey in high school, okay, he has to go to either Dearborn High or Etzel Ford.
Okay.
Because our enrollment is less at Etzel Ford, that's the offer we gave anyone that was interested in hockey, competitive cheer, or gymnastics.
And
Unless
then-
you had enough, like 20 kids or enough
From
kids at
each school.
Fortson that wanted to have their
Yeah,
own
but-
team
right,
at Fortson,
but
then
we
we
did-
would
we didn't-
definitely.
I
Then you'd pull out of the
yeah,
unified.
We did a short little, one of the students at Fortson said, well, I can get enough kids that know how to play hockey, that want to play hockey. Well, he couldn't even get 3, so.
Yeah,
Obviously
thank you.
can't play hockey.
That makes
Yeah.
a lot more sense.
Yeah, no problem.
I just want to follow up on Trustee Hamud's question. I think I know where this was probably originated. I heard you mention, Mr. Mashur, earlier that if you were to combine Fortson into the group and go over the limit, that you're okay for a couple of years?
No.
I just want to understand it right.
Not yet.
Once it's established.
Once it's established as a unified team, then Fortson used to be included, but
Okay.
because if you continue to include Fortson after 3 years, then we would be over 3,500. So we had to take Fortson out of the unified team. The unified team originally was Fortson, Etzel, Ford, and Dearborn High.
Okay, you took Fortune out.
Correct. We took Fortson out
If
because
you
there was
were
the least
to
amount of
unify
participants.
Fortune part of that mix again next year.
Oh, you can't. You can't
can't.
because
I
over the last.
misunderstood you then, because
Right.
you said something different
Right,
earlier.
well, no, well, over the past couple of years, it's been, the unified team has only been with Etzel and Dearborn. Fortson had to be eliminated about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago,
I think it might have been longer.
longer than that. Okay, so
What's
Fortson had
the,
to.
what's the breakup between Etzel and Dearborn High? How many players do we get from
Great
Dearborn
question.
High?
Etzel Ford, for hockey, Etzel Ford has 12 on this year's team, if I remember right.
I think
And
it's Dearborn's 12, Etzel's 8.
on hockey?
Yes.
Yes, and then on gymnastics, or on cheer, rather, sorry. On cheer, there's 12 from Etzel, 8 from Dearborn High. Gymnastics is about 50-50.
So, okay, for Etzel, you said it was 8?
Yes,
Hockey
this-
players.
for hockey, correct, this year. Now, last year might have been 10,
So
but
if you were
it's
to-
about 50-50
If you
between
go the
Dearborn and
other
Etzel.
way, unify Etzel and Fortson.
You
like-
can't.
They'd be over the capacity.
Yeah.
so
You've
gotta
that's-
be under
that's
to begin.
Fortson alone.
There
So
isn't,
Yeah.
you
there
can't
isn't
even
any
do
way
it.
Fortson
you
is
can
not an
add
option.
Fortson. Fortson
Right.
would have
That's,
to be.
I mean, with trustee Hamud's point, equity, I mean, here you have a student, I know he's reached out to both of you, that wanted to play hockey,
Right.
and the only way he can play is if,
To leave the
Well,
school and
choice
go
to
to
leave
the
Fortson.
where's the
Or-
equity there?
Or if he gets
Just a question.
15
No,
of his
I
friends
understand.
that
I-
wanna
no,
have
I'm not blaming, I'm
No,
just-
no, like I said, it's, you have to have enough,
Yeah.
this is why most, actually, quite a few of the hockey teams in our state are unified for that
Yeah.
reason, because it's difficult to get enough participation in one school.
No, I get it, I'm
Yeah.
just,
Sometimes the unified teams are across districts too. It's not just in, in one district.
Trustee Barry.
yes, Friday night, Dr. Choko and I ran into Dr. Maleko, and he was just so excited after a visit he made at one of the high schools.
I went and seen him already,
You
so.
promised Trustee Thorpe you weren't going to share those pictures magically.
Exactly.
But anyways, to get to my point, that,
Now we're talking.
yeah,
I actually never sent him to
some
him.
of the.
I just showed him on my phone.
Some of the comments Dr. Maleko was making that, he was just so impressed with those coaches. It wasn't about winning.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, slow down. This is music to my ears. This has been my life for the last 30 years. So this football field, or the soccer fields, wrestling mats, those are classrooms too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. The lessons learned there are life lessons that you can't really teach in a math class or what have you. And this is teamwork. Nothing against math. But this is teamwork. This is character building. Some of the most successful people in my life came up from sports. And this is no longer, in today's society, it's no longer the jocks and the geeks. I mean, today's athletes know that if you're going to go on and play at the next level, you better prepare for the next level. Because, we had a kid that, was a monster on a football field at Fortson, and he wanted to play as central. He was having too much fun at high school, and the coaches said, we'd love to have you, but you got to perform in the classroom too. So thank you for the presentation. I myself, I understand, and most of my colleagues understand that, yes, we will continue to support, obviously within our limits. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Winning is a natural outcome of doing things the right way. If you look at any sport across the board.
In life, doesn't have to be
Right.
sport. In
Well,
life,
of course,
you
no,
want
but
to be a winner.
Right, but when the coaches and the players do things the right way, winning will be the natural outcome. I'm not worried at all about the winning. It's about doing, teaching discipline and teaching some of those other
We
core
get under
values.
accommodations when we recognize our students. 3.8 GPA.
Absolutely.
You've seen the Van Patrick Award winners for the last few years,
Right.
4.0 plus. It's amazing what they're doing. So
Yeah.
thank you for your work.
Trustee Thorpe.
While you were focused on what's going on at the high schools and the middle schools, I've noticed at several schools that there's things like running clubs.
Right.
We've got the Cipriano Run. We've got so many kids doing the Martian Marathon. Is the district encouraging those types of programs so that when they hit middle school and then on to high school, that there are more kids interested in the different activities that are available?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the more we can get them at a young age, we're even looking at possibly doing a soccer tournament at the elementary level. We want to be cognizant of our relationship with the city as far as starting leagues and so on, because, we have a lot of those. We have Dearborn soccer and that type of thing. About 3 years ago, we did a soccer tournament for our middle schools in partnership with the city. It was just a tournament that went really, really well. A lot of people liked it a lot, and the mayor was part of it. Superintendent Weston at the time was part of it. So we're always looking to do things at the elementary level to try to kind of get our younger students more inspired to participate when it comes to middle school and high school.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And the only thing as far as the football field goes, the replacement, we want to make sure that when we're replacing the football field, we don't conflict with the building of the new field house that we were talking about at Etzel Ford.
Or the new,
Goodbye, Abe.
the new multiplex
Turn his
facility
microphone
that I
off, cut him off.
Trustee Lane, right a minute, guys. Trustee Lane?
Well, you're both really talented coaches, and I'm sorry that Coach Silver left coaching. But it's really good that you're going to be working with coaches because there's a lot of need there. And I know it's a difficult job, so thank you for undertaking to train them. Mr. Mashur, Coach Mashur, must have a golden touch because he wins a lot. But I personally feel that some of the best lessons in my life were losing. They were so hard. It was so bitter to lose, the old agony of defeat, as they used to say on Wild World of Sports, I think it was, or Wide World of
ABC,
Sports. It was wild too, yeah. But losing is a good lesson for a lot of people, and it's the lesson sometimes that stays with you much longer. But I think you need a marketing. We all recognize now that we need lifelong learning. We socially need lifelong exercise and health as well. And athletics, either individual or team, contributes to that. That's most important in a society that has the obesity issue that not just we, but actually it's happening all around the world. So I think that you have to start selling yourselves, we all have to start selling sports as part of lifelong habits that everybody should learn. I'm just curious why you don't have, well, I'm curious why you don't have concussions on the list of things to look ahead. That's getting a lot of attention in football at other levels. You don't think that's an issue? Or?
No, it's not that. It's not an issue. We have our concussion protocol in place,
Okay.
and we tweak it as we go, as we need to. But this year we haven't had any incidents. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's pretty standard protocol with all of our coaches. It has been for head coaches for quite a long time for the MHSA. Now, starting next year, all of the assistant coaches have to go through concussion training is from the MHSAA. So it's been around for so long. It's kind of, it's just kind of standard information.
I know that there's training on it. I'm just curious myself whether we'll see declining numbers in football.
As far as participation?
Right,
I think you will. I
Yes.
think you're going to see
Yes.
declining
I
numbers.
know Trustee Barry didn't want to hear that, but
I mean,
I think that's occurring.
It's
You know,
occurred
nationwide, that's a
unfortunately.
20% drop.
Right.
I mean, I
So
went
it's-
to a seminar in Chicago
Yeah.
because our numbers were down. I thought it was just something to do with Dearborn, but yeah, nationwide is a 20%. You know what? That's not fair. I mean, I remember Mr. Mashur gave us a report that concussions that we had. I don't know what year it was. Out of the 5, only 1 was in football, 2 was in soccer. what
Actually,
have you.
soccer, I think, has more
Yeah.
injuries
Well,
than...
soccer at the younger ages,
Yeah.
they don't even let you hit the ball with your head anymore. It's a violation for students or for athletes of a certain age to use their head to hit the soccer ball. But so nobody misinterprets my last comment before I turned it over to Chuck. We did have incidents of concussion. However, we didn't have any incidents where it wasn't handled appropriately. So, and I think that's a large testament to our trainers, our coaches, and so on. So any signs of it at all, it's been handled very, very well. And unfortunately, we've had a couple concussions actually in physical education class as well. So
now that you have the new leagues and we adjusted the high school boundaries, are you going to have an issue if Dearborn falls in size and Etzel increases in size?
we shouldn't
No?
have any issues. No, the only thing, some of the people in the Downriver League.
They may have an
they-
issue?
They may be a little upset if
Yeah.
to see, because right now, the highest numbers are under 1,400 at the two highest downriver schools as far as population goes. So if Etzel Ford starts creeping up to 1,800, then they may start complaining. And that's what Chuck was saying earlier when he said it was a football decision, not a football decision from our end. It was a football decision from the conference, the existing conference that we're in. It was a football decision from their end. They looked at it and said, we don't want to play Fortson in football. We don't want to play Dearborn High in football. And that was kind of what led to people falling out of the conference.
And Dearborn High, even with the enrollment maybe declining a little bit, they're still going to be they're still going to have numbers that'll be higher than some of the Livonia schools. So they'll be right where they need to be.
Is that the answer you wanted to hear?
Oh, no, I don't care. But they fix something and then we go and change it, so,
No, it's all good.
okay, good.
All right, thank you very much.